Hey everybody, it's Professor Kai here. Welcome back to this mini series on ethics of AI. So the context of why I created this, I've addressed in episode 0, but I thought I'd just repeat myself a little bit so in case you didn't watch it, right? So, a lot of people are thinking and talking about AI these days, right? And a lot of people have a lot of opinions, but in a polarized society that we live in today, I find that opinions tend to fall to the extremes of a very nuanced spectrum. So in this case, typically people either hold a hopeful view. They will say AI is good for us, AI is going to bring a lot of benefits, or they hold a bit of a concerned or fearful view, right? They would say AI is dangerous, AI is scary, AI is going to take all our jobs, and my goal with this series is really I want to bring some awareness and some nuance and some complexity to the discussion. And honestly, it's a discussion that is trending a bit overly simplified and overly dualistic, right? Very black and white. And I think our path going forward, because this is something that is going to be transformative. I don't think anyone is really in doubt of that, right? And our path forward is really, I think, found in the different shades of gray between black and white, right? So with that, so I'm in this episode. This is episode 1. We're gonna actually start by taking a step back and look at an idea that is applicable to all technologies, not just AI. And the idea is called the tyranny of efficiency, right? This is actually addressed, it's actually a bit of the inspiration for this series. I had heard a podcast by a philosopher, Madeleine L'Ay. I'll link to her podcast here, from TU Delft. And the podcast is called Will I Be Automated? And in this podcast, Madeleine actually started by talking about this idea of tyranny of efficiency, right? So the basic idea is this. We live in a world that's more or less designed to maximize efficiency, right? So from a day-to-day basis, you think of, we organize our lives and our work with calendars, with to-do lists, and whether this is practicing getting things done or use set goal settings and Pomodoro techniques and all of these things. We live our life to be efficient, right? And this is also how businesses operate, right? Business asks the question, how can we be more efficient? Really means, how can we make more money with less people, resource, time, investment, right? The very corner view, why this is an AI topic, is the very cornerstone idea of AI is good, is that AI will make our work more efficient, right? That's what generative AI has been designed to do. So instead of writing computer code ourselves, now AI can do it for us, so we don't have to spend the time to do that. Instead of writing a long 10-page report ourselves, we can give some basic ideas to AI and feed it some data and, hey, go write it for us, right? Instead of trying to plan our calendars and especially trying to negotiate calendar between multiple people, that's hard to do. We'll just get an AI assistant to do it for us, right? And with all these things being done by AI, it'll free us time to do things we actually want to do. I don't know, maybe we get to be more creative, we get to make some art, hang out with friends and family more, maybe take a vacation or two, right? All of this has the underlying assumption that AI is going to bring efficiency, and more efficiency is good. In fact, we organize our life and work even before the age of AI around the idea of maximizing efficiency, right? And with that assumption, efficiency is good. So in this episode, we are going to challenge this assumption a little bit. We're going to explore if more efficiency is always good, and look for situations and scenarios where efficiency is not necessarily a good thing, or that the cost efficiency is perhaps too high to pay for. So the very first thing that we want to start thinking about is, what is efficiency? So we're going to talk about good and bad of efficiency. We got to have a definition, right? So I'm going to use a very simple definition here. Efficiency is really about making use of resources, typically limited resources, and to achieve goals or a singular goal, right? Goals multiple or goal singular. Essentially, efficiency is about, we want to do more with less, right? So I'll give an example. Actually, I'll give two examples. So there's actually typically two types of efficiency we think about, especially when I put my engineer's hat on, right? So first type of efficiency is really about resource efficiency. And resource efficiency, we think of resource, whether this is fossil fuel, whether this is raw material, right? We can also think of resource as number of hours we have in a day, right? Those are limited resources. And often resource efficiency is solved through having better technology, right? So for example, fuel efficient cars, right? A car with more efficient engine is going to be able to drive longer with less fuel. And that means it's cheaper because we don't have to pay for as much fuel. And there's less carbon emission because we're burning less fuel. It's good for our pocket. It's good for the environment, right? A second type of efficiency is really about operational efficiency. This is about doing things better, achieving a better result through better process or better planning, right? So I give an example just because I'm a professor. So I give an example of studying for tests, right? So imagine you're university students and you have a week to study for 4 exams. This is pretty typical scenario in universities, right? And your time is limited, and that's your most valuable resource, right? So you have to plan. You can't. There's not much technology improvement that can be done, but you can plan your time better, right? So you would say block out one day to study for course 1, another day for course 2, another day for course 3, and you do it this way. And you also kind of put in time. Think of that Pomodoro idea, right? It's the idea of blending study time with a little bit of relaxation time. Study time, relaxation time. And so you want to take breaks, you plan it out. Now, if you plan it really well, you have plenty of time to study and you'll be very well prepared for all the exams, right? If you don't plan efficiently, you don't make use of efficient time, say you study for 2 hours, then, I don't know, you go watch TikTok for 2 hours. That's probably not the most efficient way to study, right? And then you're not going to be very effective in preparing for exams. So from a business perspective, right, if a company, typically it's seen this way, right? If a company has better efficiency, it's going to be able to create more product and services with less cost, and this efficiency would offer a competitive advantage. And this is very, very much the essence of Industrial Revolution. Is the essence of what we've been doing with technology for the past, I don't know, 150 years to 200 years, right? So Industrial Revolution is really, if you come down to it, it's about, well, it's more efficient to replace human power with machine power. So that's the first Industrial Revolution. And it's more efficient to organize production around assembly lines instead of traditional artisan approach, right? So in an artisan approach, a single person would do all the different tasks, and think of a traditional blacksmith, right? And so you would do all the steps from taking some kind of metal ore all the way, smelting it and crafting it into a piece of armor, a machine, or tool, right? And but with assembly line, each step of that assembly line is going to be very focused, very specialized, and because you specialize, you can increase that operational efficiency, right? So well, that's industrial revolution, and this trend of increasing efficiency has been going on for really a couple hundred years, right? And especially over the past few decades, it's really gotten where this idea that efficiency is important is spreading from the business world to the personal world. So efficiency has now become a part of our personal development culture, right? Most of us these days are pretty overwhelmed with different things to see, to read, to consume, to do, to think about, right? So our time is very limited. So if we can be more efficient with our time, we can get more things done. If we can get more things done, we have more time to go home, relax, spend time with loved ones, watch Netflix, whatever you want to do, right? And that's also led to the rise of this personal productivity revolution, if you may, right? Think about David Allen's getting things done. Think about, I mentioned the Pomodoro technique. There's personal Kanban. There is the second brain, right? I've actually dabbled in all of these things. Bit of a personal hobby. I never practice any consistently, but I like learning about these personal productivity things. Anyways, so coming back to the original question, so we have an idea of what efficiency is, right? And we do recognize that our work on life has been organized around being as efficient as possible. But is efficiency actually good for us? And are there scenarios where efficiency is not necessarily a good thing, or if efficiency is just too costly? Right? So I want to present 4 different viewpoints, right? 4 different ways of looking at efficiency with a bit of nuance. One is that efficiency brings undeniable benefits. That's the most straightforward one. 2 is that efficiency can blind us with short-sightedness sometimes. 3 is that the benefit of efficiency is often not shared equally or equitably. And 4 is that efficiency can become a trap for us, and we're kind of stuck in a hamster wheel where we just keep trying to outrun this wheel with productivity, right? So let's go with the first idea. The first idea is straightforward, right? Efficiency brings undeniable benefits, and there's not much to say here. Modern world is made possible because we have technology to make things more efficient. Without efficiency, we can't possibly feed 8 billion people, whatever the number is, right? Without efficiency, we're not going to be able to provide all the goods and services that we so do enjoy, from things like electricity and heating and healthcare and entertainment, and even cameras to make YouTube videos and YouTube, right? All of these things that we love and enjoy so much are built on top of an efficiency-based framework, right? Those things are undeniable benefits. So the second viewpoint is that efficiency can blind us sometimes, or rather the pursuit of efficiency can blind us with a type of short-sightedness, right? Or myopia, if you may. So sometimes the benefit of efficiency is local and short-term. And but if we pursue this type of efficiency, we end up having global or long-term negative impact, right? So I'll give a couple of examples, a couple actually technology examples. I think this is quite common in technology, right? So think about the fuel-efficient car we mentioned earlier, right? Obviously, fuel-efficient car is going to save us gas, right? So that's going to be cheaper. That's going to be, at least in our mind when we're a consumer, it's going to be more environmentally friendly. So I'm going to choose to drive more because now I feel like I can, right? So instead of biking, walking, or using the public transit, I'm just going to take my car everywhere. Now, then on a slightly higher scale, governments start to respond to, you got a bunch of consumer who's driving more. Well, we also have more efficient cars now. Let's build more roads and let's ignore the bike lanes and not fix them, and let's not invest in public transit. But that looking at a single person, that could be in a single scenario, right? Yes, on a per kilometer basis, we're saving fuel, but overall, we end up using more fuel because there's more people driving and there's more people choosing to drive more, right? So that means more fuel burned and more emission. And the overall gain is actually negative. We actually lose efficiency that way, right? So that's one kind of short-sightedness, right? Local gain and then global loss. A different example, a different kind of this kind of short-sightedness. Let's think about high-intensity farming, right? So high-intensity farming is really the common practice of farming nowadays. So the idea is we want to maximize crop yield. So the amount of food that's grown per area of land, right? So per acre of land, if I could make double the tonnage of potatoes, that's better because we can feed more people with that potato, right? So to achieve this, crops are now modified genetically to produce more yield, and also we grow crop in these. It's called monoculture crop, right? So in this plot, I'm only going to grow potatoes. In this other plot next to it, I'm going to grow Brussels sprouts. That means I can focus on ensure the condition in this plot is good for potato, in this plot is good for Brussels sprout, and increase the overall yield. Now, the third way to do this is really use of fertilizer and pesticides. Right? Result of high-intensity farming is more food and cheaper food, which we think is good, right? But there's a global impact. Over-reliance on a few crop variety is going to reduce biodiversity, and that's going to make the agricultural system more vulnerable to pests and disease, and which means we have to use more fertilizer and more pesticides, which is going to have further negative impact on the ecosystem. In addition, these high-intensive farming practices tends to lead to things like soil degradation. So even though we're increasing the total yield per area of land, the total amount of land that we can grow crop on is actually decreasing because we're having less and less arable land. So in the long run, in the short run, we are producing more efficiently and we're producing more. And in the long run, that is trouble for us, both from an environmental perspective and really from a long-term sustainability perspective. Right? So that's the second perspective on efficiency, potential myopia, potential short-sightedness. I'm quite thirsty. So the third perspective on efficiency is that, well, yes, efficiency offers benefit, but the benefit is not shared equally, and often, or not shared equitably, I should say, right? And often there is quite a large gap between the have and the have-nots, right? I'll give two examples to address this. One is a small picture example. Here in North America, most of us are very much reliant on Amazon. Right? If not reliant, at least most of us participate in the Amazon network somehow, right? Now, and many of us have heard these news already about the working condition in Amazon warehouses. Now, what Amazon warehouses are probably, at least from their point of view, the most efficiently run workplaces in the world. Their entire business model is dependent on improving resource efficiency and operational efficiency, right? And part of this is they really want to squeeze out every ounce of productivity from their workers. So you may have heard the stories that Amazon is so stingy with their break time with their workers that the workers doesn't have time to go to bathroom, right? And if they take longer than their allotted time for break time, they risk losing their job. And so to cope with this, they would actually do things like pee in bottles and jars, and even there's rumors about wearing diapers, right? There's conversations you can read online about this, and so Amazon is maximizing efficiency here, right? But the benefit is really for profitability of the company, right? The benefit of this efficiency goes to Jeff Bezos and whoever else is really reaping the reward. But for the workers, it's at a cost of human dignity, right? So there's a trade-off here. We're trading off profitability with a loss of human dignity, increased profitability and decreasing dignity, right? So at what point is that cost too much? In a efficiency only framework, it's never too much because we're not considering the human cost. So that's a small picture example. Not when I say small picture, really, I think local to us in North America and Europe, right? But there is a slightly bigger picture, a more global example, right? We want to talk about is really contrasting the global north to the global south. Industrial revolution has brought efficiency gains, and that has brought economic benefits. But the thing is, because of a lot of historical factors, including colonialism and a number of different wars around the world, right? This has created a lot of imbalances, injustices, and the global north has benefited most economically and socially from this efficiency gain, right? Global north being Europe and North America. The global south, that's Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Oceania, and really received significantly less benefit because of these historical factors. And but on the other hand, they also are burdened with a lot of negative social and environmental impact of this efficiency maximization, right? I'll give one example here. So, you think about e-waste. E-waste is electronic waste, is, I think, old cell phones, old laptops, iPads. We don't use it. We have to get rid of it somehow. And these are known to be badly recycled, right? Only about 30% of e-waste is recycled. Rest are dumped into the landfills, and a lot of these goes to Global South. And over there is a really great industry around e-waste. When I say great industry, it's not well regulated, right? So workers are... So the reason this industry exists is because within the e-waste, right, an old cell phone, there are fairly precious materials, right? Typically, these are metals used in semiconductor that if you took apart, you can sell, right? So workers are asked to actually try to pick out these valuable materials, and but e-waste are also known to be highly toxic, so they are exposed to a number of toxic chemicals. And often e-waste workers are actually young children, right? The idea is actually children have small hands, and as grotesque as it sounds, family will recruit little kids, and work bosses will recruit little kids to work because their hands are more nimble and they can pick at smaller things, right? So recently WHO actually declared that it's really a problem, particularly for children and pregnant women, because they're vulnerable to the health risk of e-waste. So this is mostly happening in Asia and Africa and in the global south because in Canada I don't think we will allow this to happen, right? And it's really a point around we are not benefiting from efficiency equally around the world, right? There is a inequitability. There are inequities in how we share the benefit of efficiency. Okay, so those are 3 points, right? Efficiency brings undeniable benefit. That's 1. Efficiency can blind us with short-sightedness. That's 2. The benefit of efficiency is not shared equally. That's 3. And that brings us to the 4th one. And the 4th one is that efficiency can become a trap for us. And this is really what the tyranny of efficiency is about, right? So the idea is we live in a system of work and life that's organized around the idea of improving efficiency. Everything is about that. And we know that there are problems with this. Partly is because, well, benefits not shared equally. Part of this is also the system ignores human costs and environmental costs, right? A lot of us are overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed by the different things that organize us. We have to be so efficient, and that leads to a loss of human connection, loss of human touch, and it also brings issues like stress and burnout. So, with that, even though we may recognize efficiency is not ideal for us, right? Or at least the level of efficiency we've pushed ourselves to is not ideal. Because we're inside a system that's so organized around efficiency, we're actually powerless to escape it. Hence, we live under the tyranny of efficiency. So to recap, I've shared 4 different views on efficiency, and each of them brings validity, right? Efficiency, 1 is efficiency has undeniable benefits. 2, efficiency can blind us with short-sightedness, and sometimes we can go for short-term efficiency and local efficiency, and that can lead to global negative impacts and long-term negative impacts, right? 3 is that the benefit efficiency is not shared equally, and 4, efficiency can trap us in this hamster wheel of efficiency, right? And we just can't find time to get off of it. And so then the question becomes, what should we do about it, right? So, and I'll take my student actually asked questions like this, right? So when we talk, so what do I do if my boss come to me and say, hey, can you make this machine run 20% more efficiently? And that's my job, so should I say yes? But Professor Kai, you just said there's all these problems with efficiency. What do we do, right? Or maybe your boss come and say, hey, can you optimize the workflow so we waste less time watching YouTube videos? How do you respond to that? And I don't have a clear answer to these questions. I think the point here is that it's complex and nuanced, right? I have some suggestions, but they're more big picture, right? I think 3 suggestions. 1 is awareness is the starting point, right? That's really the point of this video series and the point of this video. Now you're aware, and now you can make decisions from a more aware perspective, from a place of better understanding, right? And second is that this is more specific to engineers and computer scientists, because that's the area I'm in, right? I think as engineers and computer scientists, we have to be better at thinking about our design goals, the why of what we do, right? So often we just go ahead and follow the standard assumption of maximizing efficiency or even maximizing profit. But that's way too simplistic, right? So if we just go with the basic assumption of maximizing efficiency, we end up with the Amazon warehouse where workers are forced to pee in jars, right? And instead, we really have to consider, how do we really take human cost and environmental cost in our design, and not, because we talk about human and environmental cost and sustainability sometimes, but we kind of think of it at the very end, right? That end of pipe approach doesn't really work. We need to think about it up front and include it, I think, in our design goals, and I think that would make a difference. And then three, and this perhaps is the most big picture of all, right? I think we have to recognize the technologies and processes we create exist within a system that is already imbalanced, unfair, and sometimes unjust. And that's really all modern technologies, including AI, right? And so I think the only way we can actually ensure the benefit of these technologies and processes are shared equitably is that we have to wrestle with the underlying inequalities, inequities, and injustices within the system, right? So that means we have to face our history and our traumas, and this is very hard personal work, right? But I just don't see another way, and because if we are not able to face our own history with courage and honesty and clear eyes and open heart, I don't know how we can get ourselves out of this, right? But I also have hope that we can, because and I say this as an educator. Every year I see more students that are recognizing this and more willing to do the hard work, and so that's something that gives me hope. So, this is a series that's supposed to be about AI, but we didn't talk a lot about AI yet in this episode. Well, the reason is we're building a foundation, right? And so the next episode, we are actually going to apply what we talked about today to AI. And that way I can keep these videos a little shorter. I already got to 30 minutes. So until then, let me know what you think about the content. Standard things, like, subscribe, share the video if you find it useful, if you find it interesting, and I'll see you next time.